street crimes unit officer, narcotics detective, sergeant, captain, and now chief. I've been chief for about 4 years, 5 years actually. Uh, I think I have a pretty good pulse for what goes on in this town. When I started out as a police officer, I focused on drug abuse and those offenses. And as chief of police, those are the same problems we have today. So, my opening remarks, I'm very appreciative that everybody showed up today. I wanted to do this operation stand up in small chunks of the city so that those people in those neighborhoods would come and have a voice, not be overran by hundreds of people or so forth. So this is what happens throughout the city, near every area we work, and we work your area, and we're not done with your area. With that, I'm going to let Mary Houston speak, and we'll go through the topics for this operation stand up report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to have a quick review of how we got in the situation that we're in right now. We're talking about the drug issue. It's clearly evident that about 90% of all crimes committed in Chillicothe are the result of drug addiction and the need to get money to buy drugs. That's just a crime chain. It's 95% in Ross County as a whole. So this is an overwhelming problem. I'd like to start out by showing you some data that Orman Hall, who is the cabinet director of Governor Casey's office for opioid addiction, put together. And these are charts. You don't need to see the numbers on here, but notice the color changes. 2001. This is a demographic report of how many people enter treatment programs by percentage points. Blue is 0 to 3%, so that's 3 people out of 100. The gray is 3 to 7%, and the red is 7% to 14.3%. This is 2001. So these are the people and the percentage of people that were seeking treatment for opioid addiction. 2001. Go down to 2003, you notice a definite change in the charts. Blue is 3% less, the gray is 7% and down to 3%, and the red is 7% to 16%. So 16 out of 100 people are seeking treatment for opioid addiction. Move up to 2005, you notice the red grows and the blue sinks. And an interesting point of this is that in the prior chart on 2003, the top end percentage of per 100 capita was 16%. In this chart in 2005, it's now 34%. 34 out of 100 people are seeking treatment for opioid addiction. 2007, the red trend continues. The problem expands. In 2009, when they redid this chart, there were a couple changes. In the medical community, pain became a vital sign. So it's something that the doctors were really paying attention to. And the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies made it a point to evaluate the doctors in pain management. That means the level of pain that the patients were in was a determining factor on how the doctors in the hospitals were reimbursed. And look what happened. This is 2009. 2011, the trend continues. Only the top percentage now isn't 34%, it's 70%. 70 out of 100 people seeking treatment for opioid addiction. Another interesting statistic was from 2010, and this chart's not going to make much sense to you, but I'll tell you the numbers. They did a per capita number of pills taken annually for every resident, man, woman, child, baby, in each county. In Ross County, it was 107 pills per man, woman, and child that was being prescribed. I don't know who got my 107 pills, but I sure did take them. So you can get an effect of the overwhelming influence of the opioid drugs into our situation here. I'll explain something of what we're doing in other areas. I know on Facebook today I kind of got slammed with this meeting announcement saying this isn't going to answer the problem. Well, there's no one answer to the problem. This is one piece of part of the answer. in Operation Stand Up. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. That's what we're here to try and get the community involved, to self-enforce itself with the help of the police department. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
You know, one of the things that in my career that I found out that people that used to be crack cocaine, they worked at Gladfelder, Kenworth, didn't matter. They lost everything they had. But I've never seen nothing like this heroin addiction. Back when I was a narcotics detective, we had to pull about 4 or 5 people that did heroin so bad. Everybody wanted to do it, and they wanted the needle in their arm, they didn't want the taboo, social effects of it, and they didn't want to take the risk. Everybody knew there was a risk when you put a needle in their arm. Well, the change came as the mayor spoke about opiate use. And then when we turn around and shut down the pill mills, all the people that are already addicted to Percocet moved to something else, heroin. They either buy black market heroin, $5 a hit, third the price you're paying for pills. But I have a lot of empathy for those people. This isn't an addiction like most other drugs. These people, when they get addicted, some of them, not because they didn't agree, the doctors got them addicted. They just can't quit. You just can't put it down because of the physical effects. And I'm sure we all heard of the life, and we talk about alcohol and drug abuse, the psychological and the physical effects of the drug. This drug not only psychological, but it's physical. These people throw up, seize, look like they're going to die. They can't make it through the first week or 2 without help. We're at a point in society, where I showed you 70%, or 70 out of 100 people are seeking rehab. What's going to be 50 years? I mean, this is a very serious topic for the United States. You have opiates, poppy being made in Afghanistan, being shipped to Mexico, along with them and the Taliban, and shipping them through the United States, up to Canada, and it's stopping here. Well, the Mexicans found out that they could cut heroin with fentanyl. It looks like heroin, and it hurts heroin. If you guys heard about the alligator or crocodile or whatever, all it is is somebody must have bought some heroin, they throw heroin. They had no idea. They go after crocodile, and they shot it in their arm. They're losing the army, they didn't want to do that. You know, the young man that I just went on scene dead, 24 years old. He didn't want to do that. And he knew there's bad heroin coming across the state from the side. He knew it. But he couldn't. He couldn't stop. He didn't want to die. All these people are dying, they don't want to die. The problem is, society would turn our backs to them because they're living for money. What's the initial cost? Well, I say, what's the cost of them not treating them? Not only just the crimes, the shoplifting, the thefts, the communicable diseases, the hepatitis, the AIDS, tuberculosis, whatever else goes along with that. So what happens to all these kids? You know, all these kids that are addicted? Got to stop. I think we had the answer a long time ago. It's called prison. You go, oh, you can't put people in prison because of drug abuse. Think about it. They're addicted to heroin. They can't get off heroin. Put them in prison. Put them in drug for drug counseling. Now give it a chance. But right now, we're not giving it a chance. This is what you're seeing. You know, I had 2 die last week against the overdose deaths. So bad. You know, they had, I think, 20 in like a 2-week period. Akron just had 5. It happened all the time. In New York City, back in the 60s and 70s, they had all the time. Back there on the street, but people died. Problem is, everybody 77 out of 100 is going home. Now, those are people who said they wanted help. What about all the people that didn't want help? Well, most of them don't want to ask for help. So that's the problem we have. If you look at the police force, the size of our police force, back in 1982, Chicago Police Department did 7,000 police reports, and they had 34 police officers. And 2013, we have 32 police officers, one less. And we have 26,000 calls for service. So as crime goes up, we have to spend more money for safety forces. And as crime goes down, they cut safety forces. Unfortunately, we're in a position right now where crime is up and safety forces are cut. There's only so much that you can do. That's why police are only as strong as the people we represent. If you guys don't back us, don't help us, call us, get involved, we're only strong. That's what you guys allow us to do. And especially when we're man understaffed. So one of the big things in this operation is a three-phase plan. It's something that's not new to law enforcement, executive managers, all over. It's a broken window theory. It works for me in the South End. And I know it can work in this town. But it takes strong neighbors. It takes property owners and landlords and everybody come together and try to make that one little neighborhood better than what it was. And we're willing to help you. So in the first part of it, we try to identify a part of town that's small enough to have a lot of crimes, a lot of drug use, that we can make an effect. And we started in November last year. We didn't announce it to anybody. Everybody knows that we're working there. And in that time to today, we've done 6 search warrants. We identified the President Streets initially as an area that we felt we could work in Jefferson, Jackson, Madison, and so forth. So we found out that the area needed to be expanded upon. The officers were positioned in that neighborhood 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, after all the search warrants were served to patrol the area. But we had problems with outskirts of it. So we went ahead and included all the way to the Road Street, up to Main Street, and Sherman Park as part of that first operation. Through that operation, total arrests since June 16th, citizen contacts versus traffic stops, 442. Total arrests, 163. Police reports done specifically for this is 22, and then the 6 search warrants. We've done a pretty good job of identifying who's who and who does what in that neighborhood. And now we're getting to phase 3. Phase 3 is where I ask you guys all to come together and help me hold this neighborhood, try to get to the next neighborhood. So we've already started phase 1 in another neighborhood. And when I get to phase 2 there, phase 3 down here, we're starting phase 1 in another neighborhood. And then a year, wherever long it takes, we can finish all the neighborhoods in town, I'll be back to this neighborhood. And we don't forget about it. We just did another search warrant the other day. And it's just like we don't hit it and not come back. We will still come back. But the ideal of it is to get you guys coming out. And people say, oh, hurt me or threaten me. If you is a drug user, if you is a drug dealer, if you want to live next door, the people will always call them out. They can talk trash to you all they want, but if they're calling the cops all the time, eventually they're leaving. I've seen it work. I've seen it work numerous times. People are scared. Call the police. Call us. I call 40 times in an 8-hour period. I don't care. Call us. And that works really well. The other side is trying to get a block watch schedule set up. A couple people that are really, really motivated to try to motivate other people. If you don't have to go out and be the police, and we're going to put on a citizen patrol academy. So we're going to teach you things to look for, how to take care of yourself best you can. And the biggest thing, look for the eyes and ears of the police department. We need it. I have 2 narcotics detectives, Detective Chip Campbell, Detective Clark Noble. They're probably some of the best in Southern Ohio. You can reach them, sugarpolice.com, our website. You go to drugtips.com. You can look at them every day. If you don't think we're working a house, it takes a lot to get into a home to get search warrant. So anyways, going from there, I'm hoping that we all can get together and talk to the other people in the areas, that the landlords and property owners will all come together and understand that if we can improve the neighborhoods, we can improve the rental properties and the property values of everybody wins. The landlord's property values go up, the rental income goes up, and your property values go up, and the kids can play in the street again. Different.
Yeah, one of the comments on Facebook today was that you just focus on the drug or the law enforcement piece of this, that you push people to heroin and overdose, and you're not really helping the situation. You're just trying to hurry it up and get more drug dealers back into the city as we make more arrests. It's really pushing up against walls. We understood this early on, and that's why we started what's called the Dark Force. And there's some members of that in this room here. What Dark Force is it gets all the agencies involved in the drug addiction, what I call the supply chain. And it starts with the prescription management doctors at Avena. It's the VA hospital director. It's the chief of police, the sheriff, the county prosecutor, the law director, all the judges, the wardens of the 2 prisons, and all the treatment center directors. Then finally, John Gavis at the end as the coroner if things don't go well for the addict. So that's what we call supply chain. It starts with where most addiction starts, prescription drugs. And when those, like the chief said, when we shut the pill mills down, people turn to heroin. It's cheaper, it does the same thing, gives them the same effect, it avoids the withdrawal, and they just go down a bad road. But like Chief said, no high school kid sits there and figuring out what he wants to do with his life in the future says, I want to wake up in a gutter with a needle in my arm every day. They just don't think that way. That's why so much of this starts with prescription drugs, and we carry it through with doctors out on the field because they have multiple touches along that supply chain versus with the prescription end of it and with the treatment end of it when people OD, when people seek medical help. And by working together with the doctors, all through law enforcement, the judges, and the treatment centers, we're talking to each other now. And we're finding out what each other's doing. We're expanding those programs across the supply chain so that it forms a continuous flow through it, and we can help each other out. And that hasn't been done before. Those have all been siloed managed, and they get frustrated because nothing's working. Law enforcement can do all the drug raids at once, but the court's not ready there to accept it, and the courts have no options as what to do with the people after that. Jail's not for everyone. A lot of addicts are very innocently started, they're good people. They've just taken the wrong turn. So we need to treat the people that are addicted to drugs like patients, not like criminals. There are some that just love that life and they're not going to give it up, and maybe they need jail. But the hard reality is when the state balanced its budget in 2010, they shut down 4 prisons where the population was 133%. How do you do that? How do you take 4 prisons out of the system when you're overbooked to begin with? You turn people out on the streets, and that's what happened. So we got inundated with people, because that's why I shut down the Greyhound bus terminal here in town. So I went and watched. They were getting off the bus, but nobody was getting on the bus. Nobody from Chillicothe was using it. They were dumping people in our town. I wasn't going to have that, so I shut it down. So what we need to do is kind of reverse engineer this whole process, and that's what we're talking with Director Hall about, is to start with treatment. We got to have those back-end treatments available for people to get well before we really start hammering down with law enforcement and go through the courts. And one thing I'll say about the judges, they get a lot of blame, they catch a lot of flack on this. They don't have options. Prisons are shut down, prisons are at capacity, treatment centers aren't readily available in this town. They got nowhere to send them. We got to help them with that, and they're helping us with that. So getting the treatment programs put in place that work, and that's an evaluation process we're going through, is the key to this. Because there's a lot of people that start up things out of emotion and they want to do something for this problem, but they have no clinical skills, they have no counseling skills, they have no medicine to work to help with withdrawal, and that's a problem. We got to deal with the people that have programs that work. And with that, we have to evaluate programs and know what to bring in. And we'll bring some things into Chillicothe, and we'll send people to other locations in Ohio to get help. Because oftentimes, in an addict's mindset, it's good to get away from what's familiar and all the trigger points that lead to that addiction. You got to get away from where you know you can buy it. You got to get away from the friends that use it. And a lot of times, that's a successful recipe in getting cured ultimately. So that's kind of in a nutshell what DART's all about. We've been meeting since November. We have put together a program that we presented to the state governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office. The task force up in Columbus is involved in this, and they think we got a winning prescription here. We just got to carry it out. But as I showed you, since the graphs of 2001 to where we're at today, it didn't happen overnight. And I want to make it perfectly clear, it's not going to get fixed overnight. There's no switch that just turns this off and fixes it. This is a lot of hard work and a lot of people getting together and cooperating. So Operation Stand Up is the law enforcement segment of DART Force that we're working on right now. Another thing we're doing is we're looking at the DARE program in schools. And we're making sure it's 2014 relevant to the problems that the city's having right now. Because if we're preaching marijuana and cocaine, and that's not the top issue, and we're ignoring heroin, it's not a very good program. And I'm not saying that's the way it is, but we're taking a look at it and evaluating it. So we're looking at all avenues of education try and stop the people from getting addicted that aren't addicted right now, kind of shut off the flow, and then we'll deal with what's left through treatment and work our way back to the system. So I'll be available to answer any questions on that if we get on the presentation.
I'll have one more thing, but I'll provide one more slide presentation. There's obviously a lot of issues, topics, and things being said about missing females and Chillicothe. And human trafficking is an issue. The human trafficking in Chillicothe was brought nationwide attention here about 5 years ago. When a guy took some girls from Chillicothe and went to the East Coast. And about a couple of years later, another guy did the same thing and got caught. We didn't hear about it much until heroin. Every now and then, you know, crack cocaine, you get somebody heroin. I just seen a paper where the FBI arrested 162 kids nationwide involved in human trafficking. That's a major problem to about. We need to be concerned about the children and who they're around that associated with them. That's how powerful that drug is. They sell the bodies for their habit, get a car, go out of state for habit. That goes along with the heroin, and that's why it's a major issue. And again, I hope you guys pass on what I'm saying to you. Basically, anyways, without that, Officer Lytle, you guys know Bud. Big thing is, he's my PIO, public information officer. Really wear more hats than I do. Bud's a crime prevention officer, support officer, you know, self-defense instructor. Does have a lot of schooling in. But really nice guy. Went up the alley and he helped out on, let's call him a spaceship, maybe some fun. That's why he's here tonight. Usually can't come to meetings and second forward softball or something. But anyway, here's Chester, and you know him, you got to be in contact with that.
Chief Salem Officer Bud Lytle. I've been in Chillicothe Police Department for 18 years. I started in 1996. Worked last shift for about 12 years of my career. So obviously, I've not always had a grasp on kind of what goes on in our city. I grew up around here, so I'm going to piggyback a little bit off what they talked about as far as community involvement. When we look at the scope of this problem, obviously it's larger than any one individual, one family. Probably most of us sitting in this room have been touched somehow by this problem. I know my family has been. I have family members that have become addicted to opiates and different things and had issues with that. So most of us have had that in our families and have been touched personally by it. So understand, as law enforcement, as leaders in our community, we're not immune to those issues either. We're not immune to those things either. So there is an understanding there of what you're going through, and a lot of people think that that's never the case, and it is the case with us. So what can we do? That's what I'm here for, I guess, is to answer as you as a community, what can you do? Well, everything I'm going to talk about today is a lot about standing up together rather than individually. A lot of times we come out of meetings like this and a lot of people are motivated. Oh yeah, let's get that started. Let's get that started. We don't see results in 2 weeks and a month, and all of a sudden, well, that didn't work. Well, I'm here to tell you this problem, as the mayor said, wasn't created in 2 weeks or a month. It's been years and years and years in the making. And I'm here to tell you that it's going to be a lengthy period of time. I'm not even going to give a time frame on it or a timetable on it, but it's going to be a lengthy period of time before we solve this problem. But to solve the problem, we have to stand up together as a community. You as individuals have to become neighbors with each other, have to know that you understand what's going on in each other's lives as far as this area, this avenue is concerned. So that's what I'm here to talk about. First thing we're going to talk about is Neighborhood Watch. And I'm not going to read each slide to you. I printed the presentations out for you. We're just going to briefly go over these for the sake of time. The first thing we do in Neighborhood Watch is we give you, the Neighborhood Watch has an information or training manual. That's the key to it. Understanding what the makeup is, what you're to do, what the neighbors are to do, what the group as a whole is to do. It's a great manual. Again, when we do those things, when we give the training manuals out, we give those out to block captains and things like that, and we have meetings and go through those. What is it? Citizens banding together to help local law enforcement in identifying and then reporting suspicious activities in the neighborhood. Notice that we didn't put drug activity or theft activity or suspicious activity. A lot of times people are so afraid to call us when they see a suspicious person. Oh, I don't want to bother the police. Look, bother us, please. Please bother us. We're begging you. We're asking you, bother us. Let us know what's going on in your community. Believe it or not, I don't live in your community, right? You all know that, right? Everyone knows that. I don't live in your community. I can patrol your community for 8 hours a day, every day of the week, and I still don't know your community like you do. You live there. You know who's supposed to be at the house. You know who's supposed to be walking down the street. You know who lives where. You know what cars belong where. I don't know those things. So the first thing is you getting involved. Call us. Let us know what's going on in your community. Because you know, it's not a vigilante effort. It's not going out and fighting crime on your own. We're trained investigators. We're trained in the police department. We're trained to fight crime. That's what we're trained to do. Let us do our job. You as community members, you as citizens of this community, you as citizens in your neighborhood, you become involved and let us know what's going on. Objectives can be accomplished by organizing a neighborhood, street, or apartment, condominium, building, or complex. One person is the captain. The captain isn't in charge or have authority or anything like that. What a captain does is organizes and allows me the opportunity to communicate with one person, rather than every one of you calling me every day. And as you can imagine, that would get rather tedious trying to answer every call and every question. When you have a meeting or you have a contact point in your neighborhood, they can contact me directly. They have direct contact with me. They call, I answer. And we can go through that process. It makes it a lot more efficient as far as answering the questions, and obviously not nearly as time consuming for me, so I can go approach other things. When a new resident moves in, someone's there to greet them. Whether it be the block captain or one of you guys come in and you say, hey, you know what, welcome to our neighborhood, we've got a neighborhood watch. We'd like for you to be a part of that. Let them know what's going on. Reporting crime. Observe suspicious activity. Do not attempt to confront suspects. Just report what goes on. You see someone looking in car windows? Give us a call and let us know. You see someone doing something suspicious. Whatever you deem suspicious. It's not my definition of suspicious, it's yours. Call us and let us know. So I can't tell you the number of people that I talk to in a week that say, I just didn't want to bother you guys. Again, I say, I'm going to reiterate this 100 times. Bother us, please. That's our job. That's what we get paid to do.
Okay. And we have numerous cases where people will go out and breaking into cars and homes and stuff at night, and we'll apprehend them. And we'll have the property, and nobody calls them to file a report. And we know it's stolen, so we have a report. But even if your car gets ransacked and it's a trivial amount of property or money, we can still report it. Because we may have a suspect with the evidence on it, we can match up and file charges with it.
Absolutely. We have property rooms full of property that no one has ever reported stolen or claimed. So, identify the crime. Facts to it, location, description of person involved, description of vehicles involved. We're going to talk a lot more about that here in a moment. But once a crime has been identified or once a suspicious person has been identified, call us, 773-1191. If it's an emergency situation, call 911. Call us. Let us know what's going on. Remain calm. State the crime. I can't say that enough. Remain calm. I work dispatch some too. Tell us what's going on. If we can't hear you and understand you, we don't know what's going on. So don't yell and scream at us. Tell us what's going on. Just talk to us. Stay calm, please.
Yeah, and on that, a lot of people understand that when you call the 773-1191 number, or if you call 911, same person.
Yeah, same person answered that.
So if you can't remember the 1191, just dial 911. Same person.
Mayor Jeff,
Absolutely, go ahead.
when you call 911 with a cell phone, it goes to the sheriff's department.
Yes.
It's like the city limits. It's called the sheriff's dispatch answer to the city.
Yeah. Hey, we're in the city, transfer me to the city. And please ask them to transfer you to the city. Sometimes they get information, we may want to keep you on the line or something. So tell them, hey, I live in the city, transfer me to the city.
If you didn't know that was Sergeant Bob Myers,
Yes.
Second Chief Sergeant, he was a Baker Patrol guy, community police, he never called Howard Sherman Park. Really good guy, here's a lot.
If the crime's in progress, remain on the phone with the dispatcher. Don't hang up with them. Don't tell them what's going on and just click. If they need to take another call, they'll let you know. So stay on the phone with them. Identification of suspects. When you and we talked a little bit. I talked with a couple people a little bit about when you even use Crime Stoppers or use some other means to let us know about a crime, report a crime, or report suspicious activity. These are key factors in it. Please try to include as much detail as possible because it helps us through the course of the investigation. Sex, race, age, height, weight, build, all of those things. Let us know what the person looks like. You know, if I was to walk in this room, or if I was And if someone told me, hey, a white male just stole my purse, and I walk into this room, how many white males are there in this room? It gets difficult at times, okay? So understand that a description is great. Everything you can get: hair, color, length, style, length, facial hair, eyes, complexion, clothing, jewelry. How'd they get away? Did they drive a car? Did they run? Did they walk? Were they with somebody? Vehicle, license plate number, and state if possible. If not possible, that's fine. Try to give us a state. Most of us know what Ohio plates look like. Make of the vehicle, model of the vehicle if you can, type, two-door, van, truck, the color of the vehicle. All those things help us through the course of the investigation. They help us identify the suspect. If you tell me a red car, there's a lot of red cars in Chillicothe. You tell me a small red two-door with Ohio plates, now we've narrowed that down a little bit. And it went eastbound on East Main Street. And if I see a small red car, two-door car driving eastbound on East Main Street, I have the opportunity to stop that vehicle and at least identify it. I may not have enough to arrest them on the spot, but I at least can identify who is in that vehicle. So the more details you give me, the more opportunity you give us to do our job, to stop those vehicles and identify the suspects, or possible suspects. And again, some suspicious activity. Someone walking around looking in windows or cars. Solicitors asking unusual questions. We get this a lot. There's a lot of scams out there. We've all heard about all the scams that's going around, whether it be, people wanting to work on your house, or people wanting to mow your yard, or rake leaves, or whatever the case might be. They ask unusual questions. When you work, when are you home? That's a pretty unusual question for a solicitor to ask, right? Know those things, okay? Unusual noises for that time of day. Telephone callers obviously asking for bank or credit card information. Individual carrying property out of residence or business at unusual times. Most people don't move. I've had a few. Most people don't move at 2 o'clock in the morning. If someone's moving stuff out of a house at 2 o'clock in the morning and you call us and they're actually moving, you think you're going to bother us? No. You think they're going to be bothered? If they're legitimate, it's going to be 30 seconds. Okay? If they're not legitimate, we may have just solved the crime. So understand those things. A specific car driving past an area repeatedly. For parking, no one gets out. Parking, someone walks up to the window. Those types of things. Individual running from a residence or building, loud noise.
What about that firecrackers going off? Scaring the dogs to death.
Yeah,
it's all the time.
Like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3.
Yep. We're going to go a little bit about crime prevention. Firecrackers are terrible this time of year, too.
Well, these ones, they ain't just firecrackers.
Yeah, they.
I mean, they got.
But again, that's illegal. Call us. Call us. It's illegal. Crime prevention. When you look at your house from a thief's perspective. Does bushes cover the windows? Look at those things. Is there some place for someone to hide? Is there dark corners? Do you have security lights? Do you have motion lights? Motion lights, I tell this all the time. When I worked last shift and someone would run from me, motion lights was the coolest thing ever because I never had to get out of my car and run. I could see everywhere they ran, right down the alley if there were motion lights. I never had to get out of my car. I could follow the person. Motion lights are great, and they're inexpensive. They're not that expensive. So put motion lights in areas that are dark. Hold them for that. Criminals hate light. They're seen. They hate light. Light up your house. Again, look at your property from a thief's perspective. Video and inventory your property. Never leave keys in hiding places. If you have a key hid around your house, I guarantee you give me 5 minutes, I'm going to find it. Oh, no, not mine, you won't. Guarantee you. I'll find it. Everyone hides them in the same place. It's always the same places. Okay? I'm telling you. People say no, I'm telling you you can't. Don't hide one. How about this? How about neighbors becoming neighbors? How about leaving one with your neighbor? If something goes wrong, go to your neighbor and ask for the key. What's wrong with that? Rather than hiding it outside where someone can get to it. That's what we're talking about, neighbors becoming neighbors. This isn't just about neighborhood watch. It's about being neighbors. The first one on this is huge. Be informed. Know what goes on in your community. Most of you probably do or you wouldn't be here. Know what goes on. Read newspapers. Watch news. Listen to the radio. Know what goes on in your community. You know what? We may have a bulletin to put out. Maybe there's a suspect in your community. We may have a bulletin to put out. If you listen to the radio or you're listening to some media outlet, you might get that information. So be informed. Be alert. Know what goes on around you. So many of us live with blinders on. Never know what goes on. Yeah, I'm going to. Be prepared. Be prepared in case of an emergency. He mentioned this, so I'll bring it up. Spot crime. Any of you guys ever went to spotcrime.com? Anyone in this room, spotcrime.com? You know, it's a free service that we get provided to us. Every bit of criminal activity in the city of Chillicothe is reported to that site. It is mapped for you. It shows you what happens in your community, what crimes happen, when they happen, where they happen, everything about it, other than the who. But it shows you what's going on in your neighborhood. Spotcrime.com. And I update it every day. Every single day they get a list of our reports so they can update their site. And they do a very good job. And like I said, it's free of charge to us. It's something I found as soon as I started this job 4 or 5 years ago. Just an awesome resource for us. It helps us actually in mapping crime. We can map crimes using that site. You can look in you can actually get an email. You can set up on your email account and get an email anytime something happens in your community. Anytime a crime is reported in your community, they'll email you and let you know. And you can dictate by how many blocks or miles you want to go away from your house. You can check the whole city of Chillicothe, or you can just check your neighborhood. Great, great resource. Part of it's today, meet your city and county leaders. Know who they are. Meet them. You know what? If you have an established neighborhood watch, invite them to the meeting. You don't have to invite them to they don't have to come to every meeting, but invite them once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year to come in and speak to you and let you know what they're doing. And they appreciate the opportunity to tell you, hey, this is some of the things we're doing. This is what you can help us with. Meet police officers in your area. We've done a much better job of this. I tell you that as a police department, we've done from start to when I started till now, of being more approachable, getting out of our cars a little more, talking to people. Look, if you want to know who the police officer is that keeps patrolling by your house, go out and stop him and ask him who he is. Go talk to him a little bit. Let him know what's going on in your neighborhood. We want that. We appreciate that. Okay, we're not, sometimes the cars, it's like an iron shell around us. No one ever wants to come up and talk to us. Come up and talk to us. Let us know your concerns. That's how we do things. That's how we learn about investigations. That's how investigations start. Someone has to call. Judicial workers, the mayor talked a lot about judges and the criticism that they get for not putting people in prison. Well, invite them to a meeting. Let them explain to you some of the things that they face. And you know what? They appreciate the opportunity because you know what? You're a voice to the legislatures that close the prisons, that create the laws. You're a voice to those legislators, so they appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk to you and let you know what they do and why they do what they do. They appreciate that opportunity. So some of the sustainability in Neighborhood Watch, number one, signage we provide. I have the signs, the sign department, the sign shop puts them up. Signage, people think, well, that's not a big deal. Believe it or not, it is. When I don't know the statistics right off my head, I forget them. But the criminal activity in a neighborhood that is posted as a Neighborhood Watch, it's like 40% reduction in criminal activity instantly just with signage. You create a Neighborhood Watch, we put signs in your area. Not just one, we put them from all approaching angles. Okay, we already have those signs. They're already purchased. We already have them. Sign shop puts them up. So when we create a Neighborhood Watch, they'll be there. Police resources. I'm one of those. Sergeant Myers. Okay, some of the things that we offer. Some of the programs that we offer. Being at Neighborhood Watch meetings. Doing Citizen Patrol Academies. Doing those types of things. We'll talk about a little bit. Neighborhood resources. That's you guys. What do you provide? What resources do you provide? You provide deep resources. The biggest resource we all have, any one of us, their knowledge. What we know about, what you know about your community. What you know about the people. And lastly, new members. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. That's the biggest thing too. That's one of the big things too, is new members. Crime prevention and community safety is everybody's business. It's not just the police department, it's everyone's. You all have to be involved. For us to be successful in Operation Stand Up or any investigation, we need people involved. We need people willing to stand up. And this just simply says trust your instincts. If something doesn't seem right, and you call us and it is okay, we're not going to be mad. It's a 15 to 30 second contact with an individual. You know what? If you are right, your instincts are right, and it is someone doing something wrong, guess what? That's a lasting impact on your community. We'll answer questions here. I want to talk, this is very, very brief. I want to talk very briefly about our Citizens Patrol Academy. Course overview for the Citizen Patrol Academy is this. It's 1 night a week for 12 consecutive weeks, and it's 3 hours. We're looking at a Thursday, is what we're looking at, but we're not sure of that. But it's tour of the law enforcement complex and jail, a ride along, and observation of our communication 911 center. Okay, that's the basics of the academy. Qualifications: 18 years of age or older, no adult criminal record. You go through an application process and an interview. We select 20 people per academy. Some of the things that we're going to cover: the history of our department overview, criminal justice system, mock trial, misspelled, sorry. Patrol procedures, traffic enforcement, family investigations, youth investigations, crime scene evidence processing, major crime investigations, use of force, drug investigations, and canine officers and community policing. We cover all those things over the 12 weeks. Week 12 over 11 weeks. Week 12 is a graduation ceremony, and it's a dinner provided for you and your immediate family. Anyone, of course, application, you must submit an application, will be reviewed, background checks conducted. Those passing this phase will be interviewed, and 20 citizens will be selected for each class. Okay, and that's kind of a very, very brief overview. I'm putting the curriculum together now, as just talking to Chief more about it, but I'm putting the curriculum together now for that. And there's some very good cities out there that already have citizen patrol academies or citizen police academies or whatever they call it. And they're very effective and they work very well. We're modeling ours after some of those. Evanston, Illinois, Hilliard, Ohio. There's 2 of them that I've really looked at. So it's going to be a very good academy. What the idea of this is to teach you a little bit, number 1, about what we do and how we do it. And number 2, help you go back into your community, kind of educate the people in your neighborhood, as well as being a much more effective member of your neighborhood watch in what you're looking for, being the eyes and ears in your community. That's the purpose of this academy, and hopefully it's well attended, and hopefully as we get it rolling, we get more and more of our citizens to go through this.
Thank you, Chester. The one thing I'll add to that is, contrary to some people's beliefs, I'm very approachable. You call me from this department, the message for them out there, if I'm there out there trying to answer you, you give me a phone message, I will call you back. I make it a personal thing for me that I call everybody back. It doesn't matter. We're not a small city, not a large city. Chillicothe is a city, it's about 90% of the United States. We're a medium-sized police department, we wear multiple hats and do multiple jobs. But my drive and what I tell my officers is, I don't work for America. I don't work for council. I work for you. You're the citizens of Chillicothe. You're the ones I'm here to protect and uphold. So that's why I'm not an elected official. Our laws are made that way. I'm here to help you and represent you. That's my only drive. Not to get reelected, not to get paid more on this. My drive and all my officers' drive is to serve the public. We're just citizens, just like you. We decide not to work at King Worker, Blackbird, or whatever. We decide to be public servants. And trust me, it's not get rich. We really have to love and do what we do, or they don't want it. They don't last 3, 4, 5 years or more with another department. Those who've been here for a while love to do what they do. We get frustrated. And can you guys imagine working a job, widgets, whatever, and they say more production, more production, more production, more production. People laying off people, laying off people, laying off people. It's kind of the same thing. You know, the citizens are crying for help. I can't. I can only do so much. But we have strategies. This is a strategy. But in reality, we're going to have to take a look at what goes on in this town if we want a police force manned and effective. Try to figure it out. Because I don't see this stopping anytime soon. I see this crime wave, heroin, and deaths going to continue. And as a society, we have to decide what we're going to put money on. As far as I'm concerned, I'm all about law enforcement feel good. I know we're talking about locking up drug addicts, sending them to prison. I'm not saying that. I'm saying state-mandated rehab facilities, lockdown facilities. You go, and you can't get out. 6 months. You go through the program. Come out of the program, great. You mess up again, then it will be a drug rehab program. At least try. I mean, right now it's a local. If you're City of Chillicothe, local is trying to solve this problem with our funding, our limited funding. And that's what we've done for the legislators. You know, we have to get people above us to set the budgets and make the money go where it goes. Understand, this is the most pressing problem in this country. There's nothing more pressing in this right now. As the mayor showed you, I guarantee you, if something's not done, 15 years from now, you're not gonna run out of money. Not thinking, not help. So anyways, questions and answers.
Another thing of Operation Stand Up is get the community back to a sense of hope and a sense of order is fixing up the neighborhoods. The property owners have a responsibility in this. The city has a responsibility in this as well. And I'd like to bring up Safety Director Green here. We went around today and took pictures of some blight that is city property that we are committing to go in and repair and take care of. So,
Good evening. I want to also say thank you for taking time to come out and be a part of this meeting. What you've heard a lot about tonight is law enforcement and Operation Stand Up. It's a wonderful program, it's proactive. But there's a lot of other components to the city. And I operate the city service department. And the service department is fixed with taking care of 10.6 square miles, 9,200 households, approximately 23,000 people. The drug activity doesn't just affect you from a criminal standpoint. Our community can look pretty bad as a result of some of the activity that goes on. And what we do in the service department is take care of the physical condition of the city. There's a lot of challenges when it comes to that. And we're here to help to correct some of the problems that have been built up over the years. Some of these pictures show some things that we can do and that we will be doing in the near future to kind of clean things up. You see here a picture, for example, of a mattress that we saw on a vacant lot. Get that taken care of. There's a lot of alleys that need the potholes fixed. A lot of curbs that require some weed eating and chemical spraying in order to knock that down. Our guys are out there every day doing different things. We have 19 people in our department, and a bunch of them pick up the trash every day, and the rest of them are out there doing other things. So we call us with complaints, with neighbors and issues of high grass. We like to take care of that as quickly as possible. I need to acknowledge that there's a couple people in the room that are kind of important for me doing my job. I work for Mayor Henderson, and I work very closely with the police department and a variety of ways. But it's just the council people here that are really active in helping progress it. One is Bill Bonner here. He's a councilman, and Nancy Ames is in the back, and Pat Patrick. These are your very active. There are other council people who are active as well, but they're very active and contacting me on a daily basis with complaints. We have processes that we have to go through in order to correct some of the problems that we identify out there. But you have to call us and let us know. We are proactive. We're out there. Chief Moore has identified a nuisance officer. And this year we've had Randy Pratt out there looking at properties, helping with some of the high grass issues, looking at some of the abandoned houses, and some of the unkept properties, and he's been very proactive. In fact, this year has been great. He's been very aggressive in trying to correct some of those problems. People live in neighborhoods, they want to live in a neighborhood where everything looks good. We spend a lot of time taking care of our properties, and we want the neighbor next door to do the same thing. And sometimes people just don't do that, and they have to get a push sometimes from the city, and we're there to do that. So let me give you the phone number for city services. If you ever have a problem or complaint, give us a call. We get a lot of calls every day, so don't feel like you're bothering us as everybody else does. 773-2700 is our number, and we take complaints on all issues that are related to the neighborhoods. Now, some of these pictures, we noticed that there's a lot of houses that don't have addresses on them. When the police department is called to a neighborhood, they got to know where they're going. And there's a lot of houses we found today, a large number that don't have addresses on them. And so we're going to be working with our neighbors. I've got to identify a way for us to do that, but we've got to give everybody some addresses so that at least that part's taken care of this matter.
Can I also add, can put your house number on your garage and the hours, as long as that's trying to take place in the hours. We got a garage in there.
Good point. Clean up around that address as well. There's some houses that have trees in front of the address, so it's kind of hard when driving by to identify exactly what that address is. Again, you can come up and take a look at some of these pictures, but the point is that there's a lot of work to be done, and we're there to do it. So our department is small, but we've been pretty aggressive over the last several months, and there's some safety issues as well. We're going to be getting all of the fire hydrants painted, and we're going to start painting some curbs, because there's some areas where we can paint the curb. It really helps identify some other issues, like there might be a drain nearby or a fire hydrant. There may be some other issues that we also noticed that there's a lot of areas where the stop signs need to be replaced, as well as, let's see, where's it at? I missed one. Or stop bars. There you go. So a lot of places that don't have stop bars, and we've got to get those corrected. People want to drive up to the stop sign, they don't know exactly where to stop at. There's no bar across to let you know this is as far as the car should go, and then people who are pedestrians can come across safely. A lot of little things like that. What's that?
Better they don't stop at all.
Yeah.
I'm glad we helped.
I live on the corner, I mean, it's like right back down here once in a while.
When we painting the curb, would it be possible for some houses that don't have addresses on them, you know, the address?
Yeah, well, we're gonna put the numbers on the houses, and that's the best way to handle that. We're gonna have to order to paint on the house, and I think people have to give us permission to do that as well. So
There's a city ordinance in place. Every home is required to have their numbers in front of their home, and it describes how big they are, 2 or 3 inches, something to that effect. But you're required by law to have an address for that.
So we don't have 500 people, but we have 19. We'll do the best we can. So use us. Get on the phone, just call us, know what your issues are, and we'll knock them out one at a time. Okay? Thanks, Brian.
So questions for Evis?
Yeah, I want to know something. Okay, you talked about they send them to the house. I know, because I got okay. When they come out, they go home and they act like, oh, I'm thinking who's going to be great. There's a hair in that. Okay, he goes to a doctor. They put him on Prozac. They put him on Xanax, lithium, or whatever it is. He's on so many pills right now, and now they tell him, we can't give you the shot yet. The state gave him up at $1,000 to do it. Now he's starting to get $100 again. So, like I told his mom, send him to Afghanistan. That'd be the place for him.
Well, you know, Chillicothe is different than, I'd say, any other city of 23,000.
But you haven't been up to your jail.
I'm not talking about you being different. I'm talking about the city being different. I know you're different. But, you know, if you look at Chillicothe, we have 2 prisons and a large VA. We have US Route 23, 159, 35, and 50. All coming through Chillicothe. You have the gateways from Dayton, Cincinnati, from Kentucky, Pilgrim, Florida. You have the Columbus, Cincinnati, Detroit. We've even had the Mexican cartel in town stand. Yeah. So for a medium-sized city, we have all the crime that you have in Columbus, Cincinnati. The other guys come down here because they can't make it in Columbus. They go to Columbus, they try to sell a bigger drug dealers, Thompson. They shoot you up there. So they come down here pretending like they're big guys. First thing they do is they try to hook up with some women. Preferably women that are by themselves with children. They befriend them. They get addicted or they're already addicted. They come to their house. They sling, sell, 24 hours or 12 hours, whatever. It makes it very difficult for us to get in the home because they bounce around home so much. And that's why you see so many houses. And you know, what you're going through, that's the other thing that's unique about Chillicothe. How many Alps houses? How many healthcare mental facilities we have in town? How many parole facilities we have in town with sex offenders? You know, there's a lot of, you know, Chillicothe, I'm not sliding fortunate, but it's kind of like we're becoming a dumping ground. In Southern Ohio, when you have people who are in prison, and they're from Cleveland, Cincinnati, whatever. They go to Ross Correctional Institution, CCI, and they meet with friends in there that are other inmates. Of course, their families are 60, 70, 80 miles away, so what happens is they start writing people here. Next thing you know, they're going on their visitation list. And when they get out, they're not getting on the Greyhound bus going back. They're staying right here in Chillicothe. And figure it out that they get a market down here. If it was my way, we'd be like state of Texas. State of Texas, when you go to prison, you go to a reception center, they send you out to the prison. When you get your time served, you go back to the reception center, and send you back where you commit the crime. I don't want Cleveland's cancer down here. I want it there. But we face that because we perceive us as being a small community. What you don't understand is we're a small, tight-knit community, believe it or not. We know what goes on in our town. You know, my officers know. They know if somebody comes in town as a stranger, slinging, whatever. You know, our own local drug dealers are calling them. Take money out of their pockets, you
I
know?
won't give you the correct one, and you clean the good house up on Malters.
Well, I can't take credit. That's my detectives.
Well, I
and-
mean,
yeah.
they're officers.
Yeah, but that's the sad thing. It's like every other house could be a field bill. Honestly, I could probably do 10 search warrants a day for the rest of this year. You start a manpower or the other one.
But you know what I'm saying is, when they get out of Albert's house, they should put them back on Xanax, all this crap. Why don't they just go and give them a shot before they leave her?
I don't know. I can't speak to the medical profession. Sometimes they treat the symptoms, not the problem.
Well, see, that's one thing we're working on in the dark force with the pain management doctors at Medina. And when they come back and look at the patients in multiple stages during this process, when they come in for treatment, they're now doing analysis on what all they're taking. Is there conflicting medicines here? What's the next best thing to put them on? And a lot of them are getting taken off a lot of medicine. So they're starting that process. I'll tell you what, pain management doctors at Medina are just really moving forward with this in a hard way. And they tell all the other doctors who work for Medina how to prescribe medicine. So we're working on that.
I hope so, because they call him running there. I'll be the sheriff at the right.
As you know, we're streaming this on Facebook, so this question is actually coming from our stream. It's coming from Mitch. It's for Chief Moore, Officer Lytle. As far as Operation Stand Up, is it helpful for the police department for citizens to safely use the advantage of technology to take pictures and videos and send them to you guys back in progress?
Well, yeah, and that's very important. You know, somebody can have a video. Every day, everybody's cell phones now have camcorders on where they take pictures. I mean, really nothing better than a picture. You're trying to describe a crime, something that happened. You're trying to remember license plate, description, caller, and camera. And now they don't take notes anymore. Somebody gets in a business card, they're going to find a picture of it. You know, technology is great. And you've seen how many have been on Facebook now. They're putting up their own surveillance cameras.
Yeah.
And recording it, and how many people now are getting caught through that process. So, yeah.
To take that another step further, you look at the number of crimes, theft crimes especially, in, you know, department stores, things like that, we have numerous reps on theft crimes there. Obviously, we're using surveillance video there, and it's no different than someone taking video on the phone. So obviously, we use surveillance cameras, or we use cameras and pictures constantly on investigations, so yes.
One thing too, is in our city parks, which there's 9 of them there, and Councilman Bonner is the Parks and Rec chair of that committee, we're looking at putting all kinds of video cameras, not only in the parks, all 9 of them, but along the bike path as well, and trying to deter crime. They don't like to be on film, because that's evidence.
Yes, Joe.
Chief, how many auxiliary officers do you have, and are there any plans to have a force or a certain number of auxiliary officers to maybe help you guys out?
Well, auxiliary officers are limited by council, by how many we're allowed to have. Right now, we have 8 auxiliary officers. I think you realize about auxiliary police officers, these are people that are professionals, and they work at other jobs. One is a dentist, and one's that runs his own shop. You know, they don't do it for the money. And they do it for the passion, for the love, and wanting our help. And so to ask those people to do more than what they're doing now, as a plant police department, is not even considered, because they volunteer their time now to come in and help us out. They work special events, they're out with the officers, they do bike patrol. But to tell somebody they work a full-time job, say, I want you to come here and dedicate 30 hours to the police department, it's not going to happen. And then those people that can donate 30 hours to the police department probably do what they want, because they don't have a job or career, and they're just going to get programmed on work down the back. So you just can't take a police officer or take anybody and make a police officer. God goes through being a police officer. You know, everybody knows we held to that higher standard. Well, you can't be a cop with a drug offense. You can't be a cop through thieves. You can't be a cop. We have DUIs and back. We're just people, just like you guys. But it takes a lot to be a cop. You have to go through school, training, arrest, liability. You know, there's a lot of liability in law enforcement. Everybody wants to sue everybody for something. So, you know, Joe, we never had an auxiliary police force. I'm AG, and I brought in an auxiliary police force, and they've worked out really well for us. Something I am considering after going down south is looking at a different type of effort, the separation from the auxiliary. Maybe along those lines, the Citizen Patrol Academy is we ever get our cars up to snuff. If I can get a couple cars and change the light bars out to yellow, and then put on the side of it, you got a police, citizen, patrol, and give you a rate on the car, no gun, but you can help us. We have property crashes, you can come do crash report for us. We have a traffic crash, we have an intersection tied up, we take 2 officers, that person can come and help us with traffic. And we do camps in the neighborhood, you stay with that person, and there's a lot of roles involved in doing that, and they're usually people that are retired. You know, people that's living a good life, did a good job, they've cleaned their whole lives, and they want to help the community. So I'm looking at expanding that a little bit further. But we have to be careful. You know, you have a police force for a reason. These are supplements to that force, but they are not the police force.
You're talking about the crime watch area. How large of an area are you talking about to be able to constitute a crime watch area?
Block watch area?
Yeah.
Now, it's not per se a block, but it's just like what we do with the Operation Stand Up. We try to find a manageable area where people have the same interests involved, you know, whether it's demographics or, you know, where the place lays or community neighborhood. We try to take those people and say, hey, if you live in this neighborhood, I think you need to start a block watch. And I think maybe this 4 or 5 blocks. Pretty good way to start. You may start saying, you know, I think we're going to go 3 more blocks. And God bless you. Yeah. As far as you want to expand it, expand it. And many people you get involved. You get something too big, but it's probably in 2 blocks. 2 block watches. That's what it's got to come down to. It's got to come down to police officers having citizens call us. You know, everybody says, well, you know, the cops in the car, I don't get to talk to them. Well, honestly, a lot of times they're going to call. And then when you don't see them more calls, you got a computer in the car to make them more efficient. They can do quicker. You go to the next call, without typing on the computer in the car, trying to do the police report. Don't get me wrong. Everybody has downtime. But in reality, if you go out today, new police officers, I go out and take 5 calls. Of those 5 calls, I couldn't clear 2 of the reports. So I can follow up on call. I come in tomorrow, I go handle 5 more calls, 3 of the calls I can't finish. I got to follow ups. Statements, photographs, evidence, whatever. That just compounds and compounds and compounds. When you can't say, hey, Sergeant, I need to stay on station. I got some paperwork I got to do. Can't. You have calls holding. You know, that's the kind of situation we're running into. We're still trying. You know, we're going to do it. You know, we're going to try it. Our lives before yours. That's what we do. You know, we know that coming into it. We're trying. If we did, we wouldn't do this job. Next.
Tell you what, a ride-along was really an enlightening experience to see what these guys do.
And every citizen can do it. You know, you're not allowed to get out of the car. If we get in pursuit or something, we don't kick you out. You know, so you go to pursuit. You know, liability. You can't get out of the car and search people, go to phones and stuff. There is some expectation of privacy for law enforcement. But just riding in the car, going on the calls, hearing the radio traffic, hearing the officers back and forth, what they go through day in and day out, gives you a new perspective of law enforcement. I'll tell you, some things you'll see happen in this town, you never do happen in this town.
Well, we live over on the corner of Athens and Jackson. He takes pictures of them. He gets right out on the front porch. He lets them know that he's watching them.
Right.
And that scared me at first because I told him, I said, they're going to retaliate and come back. But, you know, they haven't, you know. And, I mean, he's got pictures. I mean, they're all different. And we've even got them stepping on the corner, pulling down and picking up drugs. And he hollers and tells them, if you're here to get drugs, get on in the car and go on. And they will.
Park somewhere else.
Yeah, park somewhere else to pick your drugs up.
I mean, hate for it to be like that, but that's how it is. And you have to go say, hey, you're over here all the time, but you need to go on down the street or call the cops.
And he does. He tells them, I mean.
Call the cops. And we'll come down and check them every time. Police are harassing us. No, God, neighbors call them. There's a problem. We're going to do our job to make sure there's a problem. So I guarantee you, if everybody had that mentality,
Like you,
we would push it away.
Just like each picture, license plate number,
Yeah, we appreciate what you guys are doing. I mean, and we know that you're out there trying to stop it. You know, we came in from Columbus one night. He went in and went to bed. I looked out the front window, and there was people lined up from his house clear out to the street. I hollered at him. I said, "Oh my God, I think someone died over there." It scared me. I really did. I thought they had died. It wasn't 2 minutes. I clocked them, and the people were in the house, got what they needed, and up atoms they went, just boom, boom, boom,
See, that's
boom.
the little we face. You know, when the dope comes in, dope fiends know it. For some reason, they all know it was cocaine, they fiends knew it. When it's heroin, they know. Okay, what it is another drug addict, one in Columbus, getting the heroin that 3 people may have paid him for, and he's gonna take 2 or 3 of the balloons himself and shoot up his butt, whatever he's gonna do with it, then he's gonna bring it back. Okay, so they're not big dealers. Now, when we have some of the big dealers from Columbus or the cartel, that's a different story. They bring large amounts of heroin. But that quick. We have a search warrant to hit a house, we hit the house, and within 10 minutes, dope's in, dope's gone. That quick. Okay, we followed them to Columbus. On the way back, they used all the dope but one on the way back. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. They're selling to get high, most of them. And see, that's where the differentiation has to be. Back in 1996, they changed the drug laws, and they added a fifth degree felony. There was a fifth degree felony. Felony 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth degree felony, which usually means you don't go to jail. So they turned around and took a drug offense and reduced those down to the fifth degree felony level. Then the legislators figured out that we're spending too much tax dollars for public defenders, and a lot of the cases are death offenses. So they decided, we're going to raise the offense for a misdemeanor theft from $500 to $1,000. So we have to pay more public defender. But guess what? As people go to prison, you have more people getting recycled, back in, back out, back in, back out. That's where it's got to change. We can do what we're going to do, but we can't do nothing with them. Judges can't do nothing with them. We can't do nothing with them. This is like a wall. And until people wake up in the state and federal level, we're going to have to fight this together. And I had no problem pushing them out to Chicago. All day long, they say, well, you know, they only charge them drug abuse, or, I've seen them back out the next day. But if they're a renter, they're gone. Okay, that's the way we're supposed to roll the dice. Okay, they're gone. So maybe we push it to the next neighborhood. We'll keep pushing. We'll hit them again, and hit them again, and hit them again until they finally leave our town. If we can't put them in prison, we'll run them out of town. But I can't do it without you guys. That's the idea of focusing on one arrow. It's like taking a sword, one arrow, take as much of my manpower as I can, and throw it at that. Don't we go like drop the bomb in it. Kick all the doors, locked up, we'll get locked up, we'll come back, but I need you guys to stand up and hold everything.
They will feel the heat. You put enough heat on them.
Well, we appreciate what they're doing. I mean, I really do appreciate you guys, trying to stop them. I mean, at least they're down the street further now. They're not right here where I can see them at the front door doing it all this stuff. Yeah, they're down further away from us, so I do appreciate that part of it.
So you guys good job down on our street too.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Oh, it was Wednesday. I live at 161 Jackson Avenue, and there were 2 of them took the drain up across the street from my house, and one of them got down in the back, and this other boy, he took off in the house, and 2 followed him in, and then the distributor. So it dropped in that sewer, and they
Right. And it's not uncommon.
run my house.
Yes, it's not uncommon. If you have a drug house next to you, they'll have to double your property. They'll look to double your fence post. They'll stick it right where they can reach you, get it in the bushes, not on them. They burn the backyard. They always try a different way of trying to hide it. It's amazing. I used to get up the south end, Lincoln Park area, they had Southern Playground on 7th Street, they called it, and they had a fence post in the concrete, the wall set high. Several fence posts have been gone, so just like a little hole. And I'd go over to Gallup Park, there'd be 4 or 5 drug dealers sitting on the road, like show. Who's there? You see these guys. You go there and pipe cocaine. Wow. $20, $30, $40, $100, $1,000 for the cocaine. That they was got upset over there, but didn't have it on. That over here. Couldn't charge them. Boy, they should have that $1,000 worth of cocaine and make somebody back for it. I mean, that's the common ploy. That's why I tell people, the only people right in the park don't know them. Because it just so happens you run the red light or sped, and about the police guy next to you got a crack pipe or some weed or something on, he's gonna drop your car. And you go, I don't know. That's the end of your car. Next question.
I actually have one. It was one of what she was saying. This is something we've been doing for the past about 4 years to make sure it's done. Would it make the process faster for you guys if there was a way for us to get the pictures of these cars and the people to you, so that you could get your warrants to do for drug searches?
Yeah, what it comes down to is first identifying a drug problem. Drug house, drug problem, that's where your contact comes into play. You take the photographs, you back up what you're saying. That's where that website, police.com, drugtips.com, take a phone, take a camera. We can call police stations, take message for them, tell them, I got a drug house across the street. Why? I got pictures and video. In and out, in and out, in and out. Really, let me see it. We're going to look at this guy. He only got the state 12 hours to move. He just moved next door. Thank you so much. You know, that kind of thing. And if you don't think we're working it, trust me. If we're working, there's just so many of them. I mean, it's just crazy how many there are. You know, so undercovers are there. You don't know they're there. You know, you follow up. Maybe he's staying here and he's dealing drugs here next to you, but he's actually you're calling him waiting at someone else's house. We're getting him here, not even here. You know what I mean? It's a tough game.
What's the website?
Our website's www.chillicottepolice.com.
That's one word.
That's the main website. Once you go to that website, you'll have drop-down boxes. One is for drug activity, drug crime, and it'll have a direct link to it. And Officer Lytle's on there too, and community policing. You're right there leaving an email to you. Sir?
Yes, this is really not a question. I just want to let everybody know. I know we're tired of over. I'm fed up with people pushing it up. As far as I'm concerned, you're caught 50, 60, 70 below, I'll get at you. Because one, I'm serious. I don't see one person die, that's one. It's just that simple. We need to stiffen the laws on this so that this is just not a hand-smacking thing. But in light of that, we have been doing a street vendor. Some people were wearing for about a year and a half, been walking. We've now identified we're going to start doing nighttime. Tomorrow we have a training session at New Life Christian Church at 7 o'clock. We've got an evangelist that's done lots of street evangelism. He's coming. Angie Pelford from New Beginnings, which runs a recovery facility down in Beaver. They have 2 recoveries for men and women. She also is into saving girls from prostitution. She's going to try to bring 4 or 5 girls up and say, you know, we need to identify, we've got people that are being used against their will in our city. So we are going to train people, put them out in core groups of no more than 3, you know, and try to have 5 or 6 core groups in an area so that we can help try to address some of the needs, because we can't house everybody in jail. We need to make people understand that there is other ways to live. If there's women that work in the streets against their will, we need to provide them safe havens to bring them. Angie actually has the ability to pull them off the street, make them disappear, and their parents don't have a clue where they're at. So that is something that we're going to be doing. If anybody's interested, like I said, it's a training session to Dayton Street tomorrow at 7 p.m. at New Life Christian Church. It's going to be very interesting. We all need to get involved one way or another. We get out in these streets.
Thank you. You're right.
Appreciate what you do. And we've been to human trafficking seminars together. One thing that Chief brought up is that, you know, going after the prostitutes is one thing, but we need to go after the Johns as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cut off supply, cut off demand too, and the problem will go away a lot quicker.
Yes, you can't sell anything if there's nobody buying.
Right.
Well, if you look at it again, a lot of ladies in prostitution are brought in under drugs, they have it, and they're addicted. They're not doing it of their own free will. They're going to survive. They put themselves in situations that rely on strangers for everything they do, their breath, their food, their water, whatever they do. And it's a terrible situation. And until they reach out for help, as we run upon one and ask for help, you know, a lot of them go unrecognized. But going after the Johns is a little different. Going after the Johns, these are people who make a choice, decide if they want to do something illegal for their sexual desires, and in turn, they found themselves in front of somebody who's at 6 and 10. So, you know, I think we've made a pretty good improvement so far at the Bridgeton Second area. I've been through there several times in the last couple of weeks at different hours, and there's not as much street prostitution or people hanging out on the streets as there used to be. But again, that's just because the pressure's on them now, it'll come back, but that's gonna have somebody hold the area.
It's behind speed right now. In West Virginia, there's areas I've seen that shows, it's actually pictures of people that have been arrested. For instance, like, they'll have names like our local most wanted or something.
Right.
And it's kind of, I've talked to some places that have those magazines, that type of publication, and everybody runs to Friday to go get the new copy to see who got arrested. But it actually brings a lot of light on what's taking place.
Well, I just hope this is the beginning of some synergy in the community, that we can come together, just like billboards, you know, coming out as a message. Everything takes money, okay? And I don't do so much of my budget, or his budget, or whatever. But, you know, when it comes to actual manpower, and there's no price apart the desire to do it, and we're going to do it. So I just need you guys to be there for me.
Facebook is free, Brian.
That's right.
So if not, Andy will let me know.
That's right, you were here.
Any other questions?
I got a question.
Okay.
I live on Adams. I don't live far from them. And with all the drug traffic on that street, people are flying up that street, and there's a lot of kids. A year ago, March, my son got hit on that street from somebody flying, almost died. But I'm just scared that one of these little kids are going to run out in the street and get hit. Is there any way we can get like slow children signs put up or anything like that?
Yeah, we put the signage up, but my experience, it doesn't make much of a difference. You're in a residential neighborhood, it's because it's 25.
They go 50 up that street.
But in reality, I've been to offices they call, come down that radar, as a patrol, because people fly up down my street. And what you find out is, look, I'm on our street, but, you know.
Our street is just the same. The trucks come flying down. All, the transit buses.
Oh, yeah,
Well, I have
they're
a
really
grant.
bad.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
I have a grant that I applied for. That I applied for was, that was a different meeting. I have a grant that I applied for was awarded for a traffic identifier or whatever. You know, you see them on the road, the signs, directional signs, and that's where, this one also has a radar in it. So they give you your speed, and I'm trying to get lights on to tell you that you're speeding. And it also has a message board on it. So you can use it to tell people, listen to kids, or look out for this or the other. In your case, neighborhood slow down, children sign with the speed up, to show your speed. So if they think that the wagon itself, that doesn't do anything, then I'll put a police officer back behind the wagon with a radar gun. And then we'll start citing.
On our street.
I will. I've asked for the first one, try to get forward the next 5 years, but yeah, I mean, that's just things to kind of help us that we don't have the manpower to get out,
Right.
get public education, but don't think it's just going to be a warning, because it tracks how many people speed at that time, and if it doesn't slow down, then we'll just put a police officer behind it.
Well, what we're scared of where we live, there's 3 little kids. The mother never watches them, they just run, they're
Children's
small.
Services. Anonymously, they investigate all complaints.
They've already been called.
And they could be seeing it call us. If they're out on the road, so they call us, we'll come down and take care of it,
Oh,
then a
God.
child.
That one of them was run out in front of the street and scared somebody else.
I mean, kids like 2 years old on a big wheel, 10 blocks from his house.
Wow.
Children's Services come take that child.
That's nothing.
So,
We're on Mechanic Street, you don't know how many times in a day we have people come down the wrong way on the street. And 8 out of 10 times, every couple times, you know, it's an honest mistake. But 8 out of 10 times, that's just something hard to get down there, turn around, park the cars.
Crackhead.
Yeah.
Right.
They just don't care. They know it's a one-way street, they'll turn, they'll.
Well, they care,
It's Walmart.
it's just a lot of them, well, a lot of them though, for some reason, Lincoln Park was notoriously what's called open air market cocaine. Which means people still on the floor. And so, drugs, that's one place in town, only place in probably 3 counties. For some reason, everybody from Pike County, Benton County, Circleville, every addict within 5 counties came to Chillicothe and they went to Lincoln Park. And that's where they got their crack. They got their weed, they got their ecstasy, whatever. And Mechanic Street's always been an issue on the street. A lot of them homes are gone now. You see all those vacant spots, they're all drug homes. Metropolitan Housing bought all those properties up and did away with them. That's what kind of solved the big issue down there. But you still have a couple, which I know what they are, and they're old-time players. They all probably have criminal history longer than both my arms. I've rushed them back out patrolman. And they keep playing.
New ones coming in.
They keep playing the game, and eventually they're going to get caught.
And they're not, I mean, they're smart as far as the game, they're playing, we got one person here, and I'll put signals all here.
They know.
But they're not that, it's obvious what they're doing. I mean, it's completely honest.
You didn't have the
And down the street light further out got a camera in it. Should have been removed. Yeah.
Now, I have another one more specifically for Mr. Drake. I see you have like the alley cleanup and things like that. Is there a way that we could do something where the citizens clean up near their homes and the city could, go involved, you will, come and pick up the yard waste and things like that from where we do clean up?
Yeah, I'd like to do that. If you can organize a couple people to do that, I'd love to do that.
Where we're at, there's lots of them. I have 4 kids myself, and they enjoy being able to be outside play, and if there's trash and debris everywhere, we're not able to do that, and they would love that.
If you organize that, just give me a call.
It's like that, we got 4 kids, and we went through the time where, we had to get rid of machines, things, whether it's and we don't have a lot of money, we can't cut it very well. They say, okay, here's the trash.
Right, and at the same time, we have a car.
So we had to keep this mattress where we could try to keep it outside for a little bit, but eventually it's going to become nuisance.
I guarantee you this, I guarantee you this, if you take the phone number that Mr. Green gave you for his department, and you give him a call, I guarantee you Mr. Green will look at that situation and take care of it for you. You understand, you know, it just can't do everybody, people have certain situations, you know, and we understand. But you're, what you're talking about is kinda like adopt a highway. Yeah, how you adopt a highway for you, or whatever, same thing, you're going neighbor, you're going adopt an alley, and, yeah, that's great, a great thing for Block Watch, to meet 4 people and talk about it.
Mr. Mayor, would you talk to the bus transit and tell them, they're on schedule. But hell, they don't have to fly down the street maybe with one of them kids. I mean, it ain't no big deal to get to your section on top. Cause I hollered that one day, I told him that, I said, he's stupid. Slow down. I said, there's 4 kids over there on that street corner. And he just closed that window.
I think it's diesel engine to make it sound like they're going a lot faster than what they really are.
Still, they don't.
Excuse me?
There's one speed limit sign on Watt Street, here now, but
We've done that between Maine.
between Main and Eastern Avenue is probably a quarter of a mile, and there's one right here, sign.
7.
There should be one right off Main Street, you know, if you turn within 50 to 100 feet, to tell you to turn onto a residential street, it's 35 to 25. And if there's not, we'll look at it, and make sure we get a sign up for north part of South White Street.
Speaking of speed limit signs, there's one on Pink Street, just before 7, if you're heading south, completely covered by the trees. You cannot see it there at all.
Thank you, sir.
If you're heading south on Pink, it's right before 7.
Do they monitor traffic anymore?
Excuse me, sir?
Do they monitor traffic anymore?
And what mean? I mean,
Radar.
yes, and again, you know, back in the day, we had handheld radar guns and lasers. And problem with that just been officer stationary. As we got shorter, we couldn't do that, but we changed with technology. Probably 6 of the cars have moving radar in them. They have radar antennas front and back in the cars, and we still have handheld LiDAR laser guns. That's why I was talking about the trailer. It's a speed trailer, but it's not like, you know, speed cameras, it doesn't give you a ticket or anything like that.
Not like a red light camera.
Yeah, it keeps statistics. Let's say I'm in your neighborhood. It's education, preventative, but it would tell me, so you call me and say, Chief, people drive down my street crazy all the time. I got them up 7, 8 of them an hour. I can set a trailer down there, and it's gonna tell me how many people violated that speed limit within a time frame. So I'm gonna know if we have a situation where there's a pattern of excessive speed.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Right.
Yep.
You're right.
Right. Yeah.
They need on items for sure.
So you get feedback from the county.
Yes.
So, okay, so that'll let you plan on what areas you need to focus on.
Right, right.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I want to make a sign. Watt Street, this is not Watt Street anymore. This is Wall Street Enterprise. Industry. Just bring in trucks and bring in transit drivers with hot rods. Yeah, this is Watt Street Expressway.
We're putting up signs to reroute traffic out of the neighborhood.
I mean, in my yard, if I put that there, I'll improve Jello. I'll tell you what, tomatoes will be getting right soon, and I'll swear to God, they will slow. Somebody will be walking on the some bacon.
Yeah, we'll work
I get you lots of tomatoes.
Thank you, honey, you bring more than I want.
I get a lot of tomatoes from this one lady, brings them all the time, I give them away.
You know, all that's the companies that deliver, not the companies that are here, the every company. But, you know, we've spoken to the neighbors on MacArthur Street, my father lived down there. And then the companies, they understand the truck route. And we're looking at Mayor said, we'll put more signage out, you know, I know Pat's been, like, go crazy, my dad, about truck driving on MacArthur Street.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of education. I can guarantee you a semi-truck does not want to go down MacArthur Street. He doesn't. You know,
We can get a lot of them on Adams too.
wrong turn.
Adams
So better signage.
and Jackson.
But, you know, we're thinking about the little kids,
Oh, yes.
or anybody, you know, how you gonna stop when you're flying like.
Well, you know, honestly, you know, take away the speed, okay? Roads are for cars, sidewalks are for, okay? And when those don't mesh, usually the cars win. And when people are not watching their children, okay? And they're letting them around the street, I don't care if you're going 10 miles an hour. The kid seriously hurt or dead because of some negligence in the dog. So,
It'd be awful to watch.
no, it's terrible. I mean, I have seen it.
I know.
It is terrible.
I know.
But again, responsibility is actually parental. Keep the children out of the roadway, along with their dogs and their cats and everything else. Bam.
First of all, I want to thank you both for this presentation. I live on Jefferson Avenue, I've been there 31 years. That's the rock bottom. I lived between fifth grade. I did not go to the police department, I had vehicles, it looked like they do. I didn't go to church one night, I came in off of Jackson on the internal Jackson. Just all led out to this attraction for people across the street, that porch was full. And I've never stopped at South High School to turn any hours between Jefferson and Adams. I guess it had it. But, so I stopped and I got out and I walked over, I probably had 2 doors from there, just up the grade. And, Mr. Lee went coffee. He didn't bring coffee. They don't stop to. But what I really need to say is, I think the care a person gives the house is a reflection of the caliber of the person that they are. And I have a vacant lot behind me, that has had one couple of years ago, someone jumped in a big box spring and staple mattresses in the alley behind my garage. And I don't live on the police department, and he said, well, that's on the police department. So I went to the police department with the young man that down, but he said, don't touch it. Don't touch it. So, and they eventually had to have a service department come together. But that's just one. There's a chair back in there now that's been sitting there for, I know it's 2 or 3 years. But someone is mowing it now before it grows up in leaves. I don't know who owns it. But 2 houses east of me, it's all down at the corner of there, Jackson and Jefferson. And there has been beside them in that house. And you go up 3 doors. First one, look out, it's Avenue. And the 2 girls say, don't go in that yard, they're neighbors. There's something wrong. And there's laws on the books about the care of the home. I mean, the 2 places I'm talking about still have their garbage cans getting out. There's garbage piles up in the yard. Well, I have to get it, birds get it, and I just feel like I'm living in Florida.
Right.
And you know, it's just, they could, there's laws. And I know they hold laws. I thought, and I talked, one is a house, I don't know what her name is, somebody there, and she took care of it, and well, next to me, I mean, when the back's right against your fence, I have a 6-foot fence, and yes, I know it needs replaced. I'm going to replace it. I had 3 things I wanted to do. But when I got my tax bill this time, the value of my property dropped $7,000 on tax books. Now, I know that's not appraisal price, but there's 4 houses on that street that were bank repos. And to this one where it's the grave. Like the one over come back and sold it. And it's a nice guy, he's fixing his houses all look nice. One's directly across the street from me, one's down the street on Jefferson on the north side. Two look like, west of me before you get to Jackson. And you drive by and they look nice. Another thing was the alley, and I was in the backyard at the time, and I drew officers. More than one to call it. I mean, blind alley. I moved after somebody. So I wanted out the front yard, because I was going to go to Jackson, and he was going to turn right on Jefferson. And that's just where he went. The house that she had, I don't know, there must have been a party there. And the guy said it wasn't his fault. You know, everybody comes in, brings it in. And so it was right. He's the one who died, I think, probably a couple of weeks later. I mean, I did not know that our city had that kind of warfare.
Well, you know, and honestly, man, not to take up for Chillicothe, you're talking about Chillicothe, it's nationwide. It is, and it's, so everybody says, why one more hometown? What happened to America?
Mhm.
Where we're at. Now, the city's had a tough time, but I don't care who tells you anything, my budget's been cut every year since I've been chief.
Can I say something?
Hold on.
Okay.
My budget's been cut.
I never fight all night.
But, you know, we had a nuisance officer, or we had, you know, beautiful, we had somebody in play that was able to handle these complaints. Nuisance complaints, Miss Patrick had started the nuisance abatement board, and it seemed to work really well. But we had this void, and it was hard to fix because we have such a shortage of who we were going to keep to do what. So Officer Pratt has stepped in when he was injured under light duty, and he really has a knack for it. Just a people person. He's a good guy to talk to, but he really has taken this bull by the horns, and maybe tenfold what had been done a year before by anybody else. So, you know, we're hoping, he's also doing some of the parking enforcement too, that we can show some offsets of funds that show the need to have police officers do nuisance complaints and parking enforcement. And that takes the heat off of the service director and me and the mayor. We can call that police officer. We can come down and try to get it taken care of before they send letters out, but they're in the process.
And I'm not complaining about the police at all.
Well, that's okay.
Great. My thing about the alley is, if you drive down it, the first thing I thought, they hit them shut holes. We're on this officer. I mean, they are deep and big, and then for them to have to pursue and up an alley, I mean, everything should be made like safe for them. But I have, on my front, from my front door, I have to watch the drug deal going on. You see a car parked up, the guy gets out and walks down about 3 houses, he gets in, then the guy that lives in that house and walks up to the car and talks to the woman in the car, and then he goes back to his house, and then comes the guy that originally came.
Right.
And then one day I was back in the garage, the back door, my guy was coming, he was coming east from Jackson in the alley, woman going west from Jackson, like from Douglas. Anyway, they met up about 2 doors from me, right to that place that you prayed right after you read the other. And they were, they met, I watched them hand off something, and they both turned, and she was going to hurry him down.
Just not there yet. Well, if you think about it, the reality of it is, if you have somebody that's heroin, and they're down there, they're talking about a job, and they need homeless, you know, they want day-to-day for a fix, and they're not worried about going to prison. It's not going to happen. The only thing that stops them is to get their fix and a job. You know, and whatever has to happen to get their fix has to happen. So what you're seeing is all over the city. It's not East End, it's West End, it's North, it's South, and it's all over Columbus. But I think we have an opportunity, because we are a smaller community, that we can control who comes in this town, who does what in this town. But it takes all of us. You can't, it's like you won the last vote, I think they had Chillicothe, like 1,200 people voted. 23,000 people in this town, like 1,200 people voted. You know, it's that kind of, you know, people have to start becoming citizens again, taking control. Certainly.
We're our There, get this, let people know, we have Operation Hope. Captain Sam is Metropolitan Housing Authority Board. We feed down at, Central Park. We do Sunday or Saturday breakfasts from 8 to 10. We're involved with the community action lunches, so I'm down there 6 days a week. I don't see a lot of police presence. Is there much problem? I mean, I see drug activity, but not nearly like it used to be. Is it still a big problem like it used to be? That housing community?
Well, yeah. I think if you go to metropolitan housing in general, nationwide, going with the philosophy of putting several people together in one housing unit, not that it's kind of disparate upon them and kept them all down, they serve an individual home.